Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and my guest today is a very nice lady who spoke at our most recent Vegetarian Vegan Society dinner of Chautauqua County. Her name is Terri Groh. She's an author, and we're going to talk about plant-based eating today. But first, I'm going to have her tell some things about herself so you can get acquainted with her a little bit. Would you like to say some things about yourself and your education and so forth?
Sure. Thank you, Gail, for having me on the show today.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah. My name is Terri Groh, and my husband Dan and myself have been in ministry, full-time Christian ministry for the last 37 years. And I basically have two businesses. I run a business called Encouraging Deep Roots, which is designed to encourage people both in small church ministry and in their own personal spiritual walk. And so I offer spiritual growth resources, leadership materials, and just materials to help them thrive and grow in their own calling into ministry. And then the second business that I have is a plant-based cooking and frugal living business called The Frugal Connection, which kind of intersects our health with our with frugality. I've always been a very frugal person, so I kind of wanted to match those two together. But my husband and I both met at a seminary where I went to school for a bachelor's of arts in psychology, and then I felt God's calling into the ministry, so I went on to the Alliance Theological Seminary where I met him and have a master's of divinity, and we both serve in a church in Jamestown, New York. It's the Christian Missionary Alliance Church where we're both ordained and work there.
Okay. This is one thing that I tend to forget about, so I'm going to have you say something about it first, because you do have books and things that you publish. So how can people get a hold of you if they need you?
Okay, well, I have two websites. The first is called encouragingroots.com. And so it's all one word, encouragingroots.com. And then the second website is thefrugalconnection.com. And there is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. There's a contact information page there. My books are listed there. They're all sold on Amazon, but I have the link on the website. So it's probably easier because if you don't remember how to spell my name correctly, it's a little harder to find.
Yeah, okay. And you basically self-publish, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I went that route. I kind of like the autonomy of being able to have control over my own books.
Yeah.
Because once you go through publishing, they require so many writings and different things.
Yeah, I've been noticing a lot in newspapers and books and things. It used to seem to me like back when I was a kid, if you were reading a book, it had been proofread and this and that and the other thing until it was like perfect. There were no grammatical errors or spelling errors or anything like that. But nowadays it seems like you see all kinds of that. You've probably noticed that, haven't you?
And that is my pet peeve. So when I write my books, I always have somebody edit them. We go through them 3 or 4 or 5, even more times. And even still, there's times something slips through. But I really want excellence in what I do. So I try very hard to make sure that we're catching any of those errors. But, we're human, so there are going to be a few things that slip through at times. But
okay, so basically Amazon prints up your books for you?
Yes, they have a publishing company, and you can use any level of their services. You can get somebody that you're paying for to do all the editing for you. you can pay for a designer, all that kind of thing. But I've always been very creative, so I kind of
You didn't feel like you needed to do that?
No, and the books have been very well received. Like, they've done well. You know, in fact, I have one that's an Advent devotional that when it first went out on Amazon, it was like in the top 100 of books listed there out of the million. So that was like amazing to me.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance to show each of your books one at a time and say something about each one, leaving the recipe book till the last because that's going to be the bulk of our discussion.
Okay, so the first book I have here is Words of Encouragement for a Discouraged World. This actually was the very first book I ever wrote. It started out as me just writing some devotionals to women in our church at the time that we were serving in, and it just struck a chord with them. And so I ended up publishing them, and so this is the first one. And then I did a book called Poured Out, which again, these are devotionals. So in each one of these are just, I read a passage of scripture and I kind of written ways that it's spoken to me.
Yeah, it looks like you have pages that people can write in.
Yes, I always include journaling lines in most of my books because I love to journal.
I do too.
And I often find that, you know, like you can read a passage of scripture and it can speak to, you know, to one person one way, but somebody else might, you know, hear something totally different. So I always include the journaling lines.
Well, you know, I've got to say, you can really benefit from journaling. Like, sometimes I will have something and I've got it put away in a certain place. And then after a while, I decide I want to keep it somewhere else. But then, before I need to use it the next time, I've forgotten that I moved it, and I look all over the house and can't find the item.
Yeah.
So one thing, I don't know, this is going to sound like I'm saying that writing things down are magical, and I think it sort of in a way is. But I can like go, just before I go to bed at night, I can write down in a journal that when I wake up in the morning, I'll know where whatever it was is. And it works like a charm. I mean, it works. It just causes you to, writing it down just causes you to remember.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and exactly. And so that's kind of why I put those in these books. So, you know, I have an Advent devotional here called One Clear Still Night.
Okay, so
these are, it's
the weeks leading up to Christmas.
Right, so it's 31 Advent devotionals in there. And then I did another one called Let's Have Coffee, which is 52 weeks. So, you know, you could do one a week. Some people just do one a day in a row, and when they're done, they're done. And then this was a little different, this one. It's called When Your Faith is Put to the Test, and this was actually a Bible study that you can use individually or with groups on the Epistle of James. And you know, that has always been my favorite book of the Bible. It's very hard-hitting as far as just challenges your faith quite a bit. Like, put your money where your mouth is. You know, if you're going to call yourself a believer, then you need to do what this is telling you. So I did that. And then the last one that I've done, which I just released just a few months ago, is called Fostering a Positive Ministry Environment. And this is actually a leadership book that people can use with their groups. They can use it privately if they're a leader in small church ministry, or they can use it with a small group, with their teams. And it's just a way to develop an environment in your ministry that will help others to grow and to thrive. Because sometimes we can get so task-oriented that we forget, like, we have all these people that we're working with that we need to help nurture and encourage.
Yeah, at first when you held that up, I was thinking it was kind of a book for environmentalist types of people.
Yeah, no, it's about ministry. It's a whole, like the whole idea of, planting your roots down deep into the Lord. And then as we do that, we want to create an environment that's positive and thriving. And this book actually just was recently translated into Spanish, French, and Portuguese, and distributed to women around the world through the denomination that we serve in. So that was kind of an exciting thing.
Is it mostly women who use your books?
I think for the most part, because that's the audience I was writing to at the time when I put these together. This last one could be used by men or women because it really is for leaders in small churches. And I've tended to focus on that because there's a lot of material out there for large churches, but primarily there's not much for churches of less than 100. And that's the type of churches my husband and I have served in for most of our ministry life. And I just felt like there's a need for that type of material out there. So
is the church you're at now one of those small?
Yeah, it's small. It's small. We're less than 50.
Oh, wow.
So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But if you look at any of the leadership material that's out there, it really is geared towards like these large churches.
Oh.
So that's why I kind of, I've kind of started going down a different trail than I started out with just the devotionals. But I really enjoy that, and I've always felt the need to encourage people in ministry, and I just felt like God opened that door for me, so that's what I started doing.
Yeah, that's kind of how I figured I got this television program that God opened the door for me, because I can get people, I can put people on television who have knowledge that I believe should be common knowledge, but it's not.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they have a story to share.
Yeah.
And you're offering a venue where they can share that story.
Right. So.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, okay. Now, Terri has written a recipe book, and it's about, the recipes are all totally plant-based, but she has a story about what led her to eating a totally plant-based diet. It was some health concerns.
Yes. In July I started eating plant-based whole food in July of 2023. But the reason that I got to that point was over the years, my weight kept creeping up until I was about 80 pounds overweight. I had just watched my mother in 2020 pass away from cervical cancer that had gone all into her lymph nodes. And it was a terrible way to watch someone die. She couldn't eat or drink anything the last 3 weeks of her life.
Oh, yeah.
And it just was terrible. So, but I had also started getting a lot of health issues. I was on high blood pressure medicine. I had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I was pre-diabetic. I was having gallbladder issues, knee issues, all kinds of, other, I had asthma, eczema, the whole, everything imaginable.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and I was just starting to feel like if I continued on that path, I was going to end up going down the same road as my mom. It may not have been cervical cancer, but it wasn't going to be a nice ending to my life.
I have seen relatives and friends of mine die of cancer, and it's not nice. It is not pleasant to see them having to go through that.
Right. And my dad died of a massive heart attack, and there were heart issues in our family. And I had already gone through some heart testing because I was having, heart palpitations, different things like that. So it just was, I was setting myself up for having long-term severe health issues. And so I already knew that, but it was hard to make changes. It was, I didn't think I ate that unhealthy. And I did eat a lot of vegetables and plants and all that, but I also ate a lot of processed foods, a lot of, dairy, butter, everything was butter or oil, all that. So anyway, I was at a women's conference that I was leading, and a friend in the audience, I was introducing one of our speakers, and she took a picture of me, and she was taking pictures of different things that were happening throughout the weekend, and she sent me the pictures, thinking that I'd want to use them when I advertised how the event went. And when I saw the picture, it was, first of all, it was a side view. My mouth was hanging open, which is never, I was talking, so
right.
It's never a pretty option. And I just felt so humiliated, like I looked terrible. And I just remember crying, thinking, wow, I can't believe I've gotten to this point in my life. And I was staying with a friend who eats plant-based whole foods. She has that whole lifestyle. And she also does some business coaching. So she has that coaching mindset.
Oh, okay.
So she just started asking me some probing questions. She didn't let me deflect. She just, what is it about this picture that's making you so upset? What do you think you need to change to make better health choices? Where would you start? All those type of things. And then she steered me towards some websites, some podcasts, some books that she thought would be helpful. And I don't know, I think the timing was right. The questions she asked were right, but it just set me on the path of deciding from that day, it was July 3rd, 2023, I remember the exact day, that I was going to start eating this way. And so I just began. I stopped, I cut out all sugar. I cut out all processed foods. I went extreme because I just felt like I had gotten to an extreme point where I needed to be all in with it. And so I stopped eating, I didn't use oil, and I just started doing the plant-based, beans, legumes, tofu, whole grains, so like brown rice, quinoa, all those type of grains, and fruits and vegetables. And within 3 months, I went to the doctor, and he took me off the blood pressure medicine. I started losing weight like right away, immediately.
Oh, yeah.
So that certainly helped to keep me motivated, because I think if I didn't see a weight loss, it would have been harder to stick with it.
Oh, yeah.
But by the end of the first year, I had lost 73 pounds. I had reversed all those health issues I was having. My energy level went through the roof. And I've stuck with it ever since, and I feel really good. I've had no more issues.
Yeah, I really do know what you mean. And in fact, I thought I would mention that a month ago, when you get into the older age groups, like I am now, you start getting these letters in the mail for these Lifeline screenings. Yeah. Now, I have been totally plant-based for quite a long time, and I decided to go do one of these Lifeline screenings to see what I could find out. And they test you for, they'll test the carotid arteries in your neck, and they do something with the arms and the legs where they test to see if your blood is flowing through your arms and legs properly, and they'll test the part of the aorta that's in the abdomen to check to see if you are getting an abdominal aortic aneurysm. And let's see, what else was it? They also checked for the tibia bone in the lower part of the leg. That's where they check to see if you are at risk for osteoporosis. And there was something about the heart too. They check for atrial to see if you have atrial fibrillation. And basically, everything, my results came back very good.
That's excellent.
You
That's
know?
excellent, yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it was worth going and getting the tests to see if I really was that healthy.
Yeah.
You know, let me make sure.
Yeah, and my doctor has done blood tests to make sure I'm not, because, I asked him to also, because I know if you're eating a strictly vegan diet, like you can have some deficiencies if you're not taking supplements. So one of those deficiencies can be B12.
Right.
And so I've had him check that, and my calcium levels, all those, and everything's in the normal range, which is amazing.
Yeah.
In fact, he was so impressed. Like I had told him, he asked me how I was doing it, and I shared that with him, and he was fine with it, which is unusual, because sometimes doctors aren't always that enthused about plant-based eating, but he was really on board with it. And when I told him I had written the cookbook, he looked it up on Amazon and he purchased it.
Oh.
And now he tells me he recommends it to his patients. He tells them my story. And so that's exciting.
We went to, a few years ago, we went to something in Warren, Pennsylvania that they had put on there. And it was like Dr. Esselstyn from the Cleveland Clinic and T. Colin Campbell that wrote the China study.
Yeah.
And there was a famous nutrition expert named Brenda Davis from Canada.
Okay,
And it was, it was an honor to get to meet these people, to actually see them in person and everything.
Yeah, and I've read a lot of their materials and listened to their podcasts and stuff. And that was the thing that actually helped me when I was starting this, was to listen to some of those YouTube channels or some of the podcasts to better understand the science behind what I was eating. But it also motivated me, so it kept me going, because there are, especially the first few weeks, because your body is adjusting to a new way of eating, it really helped to keep me motivated and keep me on track.
Yeah. Well, I've always, I've been pretty good about things, like I quit drinking alcoholic beverages when I was in my early 20s, even though it was like, a couple of years doing it, because I didn't like the way that it made me feel.
Yeah.
And I had bad anxiety attacks if I drank coffee when I was very young. So I've been away from. Basically, I drink water.
Yeah. I drink about a gallon of water a day. I drink a lot. I'm in the bathroom a lot too, though. It's the downside.
Yeah. So it's just amazing how you can control what happens to you by taking good care of yourself.
Yeah, they've done so many studies on how our nutrition and what we eat really does affect our health in far more ways than we would have expected. And I found that true with myself, because, it was interesting. I think at Christmas has been the only time that I've struggled a little bit, because there's such emotional attachment to the traditions that we've always done. And so one of the things that I've always done is bake tons of cookies at Christmas. I give them to our neighbors. I have them for different parties. But I've really found that I can't do that, because that's when I slip up. But when I do eat something that's off my normal diet, especially things that have sugar in them, oh my goodness, my heart starts racing. I just feel terrible, and then I find it's easier to start gaining back weight. So I just have to stick with the way I eat.
Yeah, and there's so many people, I hate to say it, that just refuse to try this kind of a diet. In fact, I've often heard young mothers complain that when they start feeding their babies, more solid foods and things like that, the babies, they can't get their babies to eat meat. And it's like, I'm thinking, they think the babies need to eat meat in order to, grow up strong and healthy.
Yeah.
And what I'm thinking is, it must be instinct for the babies to know that this is something they should not have, but people just don't think like that.
No, and and it's such the companies like the dairy industry, the meat, farm industry, they spend big bucks, the lobbyists, to get the messaging out that you need this, and that's a new phrase going on right now, right? Like protein, everything's high protein, and I'm like, you get all the protein you need from a plant-based whole food diet, but people don't think.
But the people who are eating the animal foods, what they don't know is that when they're eating the animal foods, they're getting too much protein.
Yeah.
I guess too much protein is what causes things like kidney stones.
Yeah. And gallbladder issues.
Right, right.
So yeah, I think it's, just like too little protein is dangerous. Well, too much is dangerous too.
Right, right.
And I've just found, and I think it's a conception too, like I'll hear people say, oh, tofu, I hate tofu. And I'm like, that's why I wrote the cookbook, because I felt like I wanted to show people like it's how you season things. Like you can make things taste really good, you know what I mean? And so even tofu to me is like a blank slate. It takes on whatever flavoring you're adding to it.
Yeah, whenever we have like lunch at the Wegmans Cafe, one of the things you can get is a serving of herb seasoned tofu.
Yeah.
And I really like that,
Yeah.
the herb seasoned tofu. Whenever we have some reason we have to go to Erie, Pennsylvania, we'll go to the health food co-op when it's time for lunch. It's like going to a restaurant practically. They've got a whole nice dining room where you can sit at tables to eat lunch. What I usually like to get for my lunch when we go there is their chickpea salad, and then I like to get their chia seed pudding.
Okay.
Yeah, they have the chia seed pudding with the nuts and stuff in it and topped with berries. That is so good.
I'll have to check that place out. I've never heard of it.
It's on 26th Street.
Okay.
If you know where St. Vincent's Hospital is, it's not far from there. St. Vincent's is on Myrtle Street, and 26th Street is at the end of Myrtle, is the one you turn off of to go to that hospital. And it's like just several blocks down 26th Street from there. And they have a big sign. You can't really miss it. They have all kinds of things you can order to eat. And I highly recommend it as a place to eat. If it's mealtime and you're in Erie and need something to eat, it's just the best place to go. It really is. My husband usually gets some of they usually have a bunch of soup made up, that you can try. But I always go to the grab and go section for what I want to eat. And then you can order stuff for them to make for you too. But anyway, that's what I usually like, is the chickpea salad and the chia seed pudding.
Oh,
so
try it.
Yeah. So anyways, do you eat sprouted seeds, and do you grow them in your kitchen?
I do not. I mean, I've had microgreens and things like that, but I've not done sprouted seeds. I've tried to grow them a few times, and I know it's supposed to be really super easy to do, but somehow I think I just forget to take care of them the way you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And then they end up going bad on me, so I
Yeah.
just buy them. Like, I do like them, and I'll buy
Yeah.
them at the store.
Yeah, I sometimes buy them. My husband likes me to grow them, though.
Yeah.
So you're not supposed to eat alfalfa seeds raw.
Right.
Because there's something about the shape of the leaves,
Okay.
Something about food poisoning. But
Huh, I never heard that.
I like lentil sprouts. I love, for anybody who doesn't like broccoli, they should try the broccoli sprouts.
Okay. Yeah, they are good. I've had those.
Yeah, because they do taste okay, you know. They are actually better tasting than the full-grown broccoli. And so I kind of wondered if you did that, but do you eat, I think you said that you eat ground up flax seeds, right?
I do. In fact, I use it a lot as egg replacer in some of my baked goods.
Right, I do too.
Yeah, so I do that. I don't use the seed itself in, you know, like the whole seed very often, because I just find that they're so fine that it's hard to.
Well, you can't really get them chewed up. Somebody told me that you can't get them chewed.
Right, it's not like some of the other seeds. So I tend to use them as the flax meal. Like I buy ground up flax meal, and I
Right.
keep it in my freezer because it can go rancid.
Right.
So that's where I keep it, and I'll use it as egg replacer.
Yeah, and for people, so many people are on blood thinners these days. And what they don't know is a lot of foods, and ground up flaxseed is one of them, has blood thinning effects.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I use it, like this morning I had oatmeal, and I put a half a tablespoon of flax meal in my oatmeal, and that's what I usually do. I also use hemp hearts and chia seeds. And then I just, you know, in the morning, I'm not a big fan of cooking in the morning. That's the only thing. So when I do my oatmeal, I'm kind of lazy with it. Like, I put it all in the bowl, and I add the water, and I stick it in the microwave. And then I'll add my plant-based milk and some like, my mind just went blank, berries, you know,
Berries,
bananas,
yeah.
things like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Somebody asked you when you spoke at one of our dinners what your favorite foods were for your 3 meals of the day, like breakfast, lunch, and supper. If you'd like to, you could mention it to the viewing audience here, and then I'll tell you what my favorites are.
Well, I normally either have a bowl of oatmeal in the morning with the fruit, the seeds and the fruit, or like yesterday morning, I had made some oil-free hummus, and so I toasted a slice of Ezekiel bread and just put the hummus on it with some microgreens on top, and then I had it's a very unconventional breakfast. I had some sliced vegetables on the side, and that was my breakfast, and I find that actually will keep me full all the way to lunchtime. So that's generally my breakfast, is, you know, something like that. For lunch, usually we'll have a large salad. Like, I mean, I'm talking a dinner plate size salad with beans on it, hemp hearts on it, some sort of dressing. And then dinner, it just depends. Like, some of my favorite types of food are Asian cuisine. So I'll often do like a stir fry with tofu, or I'll do a lentil soup, or something like that. But I think my favorite is probably more of the Asian flavors.
Yeah, for breakfast, I like to have a lot. We eat a lot of fruit for breakfast at our house. With like the fruit with nuts and seeds, and I usually have 12 almonds with breakfast.
Okay.
That's 12 almonds is supposed to take, that have been soaked in water overnight,
Okay.
are supposed to take care of your calcium need
Okay.
for the day. And soaking nuts in water is supposed to make them more digestible.
Okay, yeah.
You know, so you'll feel better. Your stomach will feel better
Yeah.
if you, but not actually roasting them or anything, though. They're supposed to be better for you raw.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and then we'll have, my husband makes soy yogurt, and we'll either have that or I'll have some granola, and they have really good granolas in bulk bins at the co-op in Erie, and they are so much better than anything you can buy in the regular grocery store. Or we'll have oatmeal or something like that, you know. But there's always fruit with breakfast. And then for lunch, I like to have a sandwich. I'm such a sandwich person. I basically have veggie sandwiches, basically whole grain bread with hummus for the spread, and various different vegetables, raw vegetables, pieces, and like that. And then for supper, I like, we start out with a salad and then have a serving of some sort of a bean recipe, beans or rice or whatever, and like that. So, and then we do have a bit of a sweet tooth, so we kind of like a piece of a homemade dessert.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, see, at night I usually will have, it's kind of like the end to my eating. So I'll have dinner, and then a little bit later I'll have like a handful of raw walnuts and a couple of dates. And then I'm done. So like I try to not eat anything after 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Because I just find it gives your body time to digest your food, and then you sleep better.
Right, you sleep better. Otherwise, you might have symptoms that keep you awake.
Yeah.
You know, so, but although we, in recent months, at our house, we've gotten in the habit of where I start soaking some chia seeds in some water in the second half of the afternoon, and then we kind of, I guess I'll call it drinking it. Okay. You know. Yeah. Because they're so small, but we take it at bedtime in the water it's been soaking, and that's supposed to have a lot of health benefits if you do it like about an hour or so before.
I find that I have to watch chia a little bit if I eat too much of it, because it expands. You know what I mean? Like then I feel I don't feel great, you know. But that's the only one that tends to bother me a little bit. Not, you know, like if I eat the oatmeal in the morning, I'll put like a tablespoon of chia in it, and that's okay. But I just made these seeded crackers that had quite a bit of chia, and I noticed if I ate more than a few of those that I did not feel well, and I kind of traced it back to, I think it was the chia in it. Yeah. But it is good. I mean, it's good, healthy for you. It has a lot of omega-3.
Yeah, it's supposed to have some really important health benefits. And I just found out this winter that for us older ladies, that eating prunes in the evening will help to prevent and reverse osteoporosis. Okay. Had you heard that?
I have not heard that. I know prunes are good for other things.
Yeah, that too. That too. Okay, I think we probably ought to get into talking about your recipe book. Here,
yeah, I don't think I even showed anybody what the title is. It's Simple and Nutritious 52 Plant-Based Whole Food Recipes.
Okay. Okay, 52. You do a lot of the number 52 with your books, like weekly.
Yeah, I
weekly
know.
things, because there's 52 weeks in a year.
Yeah, I think either that or I just have a little bit of ADD, so it's like I can only handle like 52 things at a time. Get bored. Yeah, and that just happened to be the amount of recipes that I had when I put this together. But I've actually, since after I did the cookbook, I actually started a YouTube channel. It's called the Frugal Connection.
The Frugal Connection.
And the reason I wrote the cookbook is because two things I always hear from people about why they can't eat this way. It's like it's too complicated and it's too expensive. So I am just naturally very frugal. We've had to be, for most of our married life, we were on one income and it was a small pastor salary. And so I just wanted to show people that eating this way does not have to be complicated. So the recipes are really easy to make. Most of the food that I make for a meal takes 15 minutes or less. And also I wanted to show that it doesn't have to be expensive, because I'm not going to the vegan processed foods that you can buy in the grocery store. I'm getting vegetables, fruit, beans are super cheap.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and
one of the cheapest things in the store are the legumes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to show that. And so I decided to start the YouTube channel to kind of just, I usually will come up with a recipe and I will cook and talk about it while I'm cooking it to show people how easy it is to make. And also some of the things that people aren't used to doing, like you don't need to have oil to saute vegetables. And so I do a lot of that on the channel as well, as to show people how do you do that? How do you keep it from burning if you're not using oil?
Do you use water? Is that what you use?
I use a little bit of oil. Not oil. I use a little bit of water as I saute the vegetables. I also wanted to show people, like, how do you make flax eggs? So that you're replacing, I don't have eggs in my baked goods. So how do you make baked goods without dairy, without eggs, and still make them taste good? How do you make these things without sugar and make them taste good? And so that's what I do on my channel. And it's been fun, It's like kind of a fun little hobby that I have.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, what else can we say about your book then? You said you have a list of things that people should keep in their pantry.
Well, what I did was when I wrote the recipes in here, so for example, I have like all different kinds of recipes in here. I have cranberry apple muffins, high protein breakfast cookies. I have, I'm just picking a couple here, curried carrot and cauliflower soup, lentil soup, all the way to desserts. And what I did was put together a pantry list based on the 52 recipes in here and just put that in there as well. So for people who are going into this and have no idea how to cook this way, what to start with, I came up with a pantry list. But I always tell people, you do not have to stick to that list. Like, some people are very good cooks. They don't need, a lot of direction with that. So use what works for you, your lifestyle, your family, your household, because what works for me might be very different for someone else.
Yeah. Well, for people who think it's probably too hard to cook the beans, when you have to soak them and everything before you cook them, you can also buy canned beans.
Oh, and that's what I do, because I have bags of dried beans, and when I have a day where I have some time, then I will go through the whole rigmarole with those. Sometimes I'll just throw them in the freezer after they're fully cooked, in freezer bags, or sometimes I will can them so that I just have shelf-stable beans. But lots of times I just buy cans of, I go to Aldi. It's like the cheapest store ever. And I'll just buy cans of beans there, and then I keep those. And part of me, I would prefer to use the bags of dried beans just because I'm not having a lot of wasted garbage that way. We recycle but it's still cans that are getting tossed, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas if I do my own, I can reuse the jars over and over and over
Right,
again.
right.
But you know, we have people that work full-time jobs. Their time is limited. So I say, if canned beans work for you, use canned beans. Just rinse them, and then use them however you need to use them.
Now, of course, you know Joanne and Mary Stryowski. They've been on Fresh Perspectives half a dozen or so times. And they'll actually, they're so courageous with their cooking. They'll come on and bring stuff and to show and on television.
Yeah.
And but anyway, some people save the liquid off of garbanzo beans, and they make meringues
Yeah, I've done that.
with them.
Yeah.
Have you?
In fact, I make my own granola. I was participating in the Jamestown Farmers Market, and so I was selling granola there. But because I want people to know, like how do you make granola without oil? Because like most store-bought granolas are full of oil. Is that you can use the aqua faba, which is the chickpea liquid, and just whip it. And then I would mix that in with the oats to kind of bind it a little bit,
Oh,
and then
okay.
cook it. And it just kind of helped it crisp
Yeah.
to give you that granola
yeah.
texture you're looking for. But it's really not necessary, because like I make a peanut butter chocolate granola that tastes like a peanut butter cup, and it has no oil in it whatsoever. It's just the natural oil that's in peanut butter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
interesting that you said they brought some of their dishes. And if I had thought of that, I should have done that.
Well, we can do another episode sometime.
I'd love
if
that.
you want to come on and show
Yeah.
some things. Yeah.
Well, I have my cookbooks. You know, they're on Amazon, but I've also have there's some on stock at Carlberg Farms in Jamestown.
Oh, okay.
And
Carlberg Farms.
Carlberg Farm. Yeah.
Where is that at? I know
Peck
of
Settlement Road.
Peck Settlement Road.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because we're familiar with like that Peterson Farms.
Yeah, it's
thing.
on the total other side of town.
The total other side of town.
But going out towards, if you're heading towards Frewsburg, you'd make a left onto Peck Settlement Road.
Oh,
and it's up there,
okay.
a couple miles up the road.
Okay.
But I have my cookbooks there, and when we first put them in there, she had a day where she had me bring some samples out of the cookbook.
Oh,
So I
okay.
brought a pot of curried split pea soup. I brought chunky monkey cookies, which I had come up with that have chickpeas in them, and I also brought bruschetta, and just had some samples there, and people loved them. So, you know, just to show, because I want to show people like the food actually tastes good, and
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
hard to make.
Yeah, you know, I've actually, you were mentioning why people say they can't eat like this. I have had people, well, an aunt and uncle of mine, for instance, once upon a time, about 20 years ago, I mentioned, you know, you can help get cancer to go away, you know, by eating this way, and you can unclog your arteries and things by eating this way. You can actually clean all that crud out of there.
Yeah.
And I remember them saying, I remember my aunt saying, oh, we couldn't do that. She goes, we'd have to go take classes to learn how to do it. And then my uncle went, something about you'd be better off dead than to have to put up with that.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I mean, that, something that strong that somebody would say. I have always said that if you know how to use a recipe book, you can do it, because there's tons of recipe books, plant-based recipe books these days.
I think you kind of have to have a curious personality, and not a lot of people have that, you know, because even before I started eating 100% this way. Like probably at least 3 nights a week, we ate a plant-based meal because it's cheaper. And also, like my kids, my husband and I did 10 years of inner city ministry in Paterson, New Jersey.
Oh,
so we
okay.
were around other cultures, and a lot of other cultures, they eat a lot of beans, fruits, vegetables. So like my kids grew up eating falafel and, which is like a chickpea patty basically.
Yeah.
They've eaten Mexican food, like all kinds of different South American dishes, Indian dishes, and like all of those different types of foods use beans, legumes, fruits, vegetables. And we've always kind of had that curiosity about the world and wanting to try new things. Like I get bored doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so this wasn't a hard leap for me, but I think for some people it is very difficult.
Yeah. And I get the impression that a lot of people are sentimentally attached to the way things their mothers used to make for them.
Yeah.
Their mothers and their grandmothers and like that.
We're very tied to our memories of growing up and food, and it always seems to center around food. And so it's kind of a shift of mindset, like 'cause just like I was struggling at Christmas time, like in my Facebook memories, things would pop up like all these different cookies I made, and then I'd be like, oh, but I like that's what Christmas is. But then I would make all these like hundreds of cookies, and I would give a lot of them away, but then I'd find like my kids would only eat a couple, and I'm like, why am I like, I'm pouring a lot of time and money into making cookies that aren't healthy for us, and then I'm finding that I'm the one that's doing most of the eating of the cookies, and I'm trying to get away from doing that. So like this last Christmas, I did make a couple of different kinds, but I'm trying to create new memories. That aren't centered around foods that are unhealthy for me. So like, okay, what can we do as a family that would create a new memory? That would be a fun memory to do. Like, we love board games, so let's just play these games together, or let's go for a hike. Let's go see a special movie or something that doesn't involve around something that in the long run is extremely unhealthy. And then, if I kept eating the way I was eating, good chance I'd die an early death. And then I wouldn't have any more memories with my family. Their memory of me would be me wasting away.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's my understanding that you feed your diseases with what you're eating if you're eating certain things. And
it's not people's fault, because our food industry is set up in such a way as it's a marketing society. They want people to keep coming back and purchasing the things that are not healthy. And what was really interesting to me was when the companies, the cigarette companies, when they started losing money because of all the ads about how unhealthy cigarette smoking is, and they stopped targeting children and all that, like a lot of those companies like RJ Reynolds and different ones got into the food business.
Oh.
And then they hired scientists to figure out the best way to make these foods the most palatable for the public to keep purchasing. So by adding the additives and the flavorings and and that's what keeps people going back to those things. The combination of salt, sugar, oil in combination, which all those processed foods have, are going to keep people wanting to go back. So my goal isn't to make people feel bad about what they eat, because in a lot of ways, everything around us is geared towards making us purchase those things.
Right.
And it's only as you get away from that and you start eating this way. Like it took a few weeks, but all of a sudden I noticed like my taste buds shifted and I wasn't quite so wanting them.
Well, to be not only that, but you start feeling so much better.
Oh yeah.
That why would I want to eat this stuff? You see hordes of candy for holidays like Valentine's Day and Easter and like that. And I remember being in the store after Valentine's Day. Oh, by the way, I saw in the local grocery store, I saw the Easter candy out on the shelves 2 days before Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I mean, that was totally stupid to begin with, but I remember after Valentine's Day when they had sale prices on the Valentine's candy. The Reese's ones, you know, the peanut butter filled Reese's candies for the holiday. I remember taking a look at the list of ingredients, and it's not just peanut butter and chocolate.
Right.
I mean, there was a long list of other things, and I didn't even know what it all was.
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, I couldn't possibly eat this because it has things in it that are not on my diet.
Yeah, there's like so many preservatives
Yeah,
and I mean dyes in these, especially candy, and it's all marketed to children, you know, and so you get kids from a very early age that are just looking for that, you know, highly palatable thing, and it's hard to get kids to. Then we want to know why won't my child eat vegetables? That's because you just pump them full of sugar.
Yeah. Well, you know, I wanted to say also that back when I was a little girl, I was growing up in the 1950s and 1960s, and I really think they still do it too, but I don't usually watch television. But, well, I watch my own program.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't have commercials on mine. But anyway, they used to have these ads about where it would show people enjoying drinking milk and how you supposedly needed it to make strong bones and teeth. And as an adult, I eventually found out that the reason that those ads were on television was because the federal government was subsidizing the dairy industry.
Yeah.
So they wanted us to buy that stuff, but in reality, it doesn't cause strong bones and teeth. And I would have been better off without it, because now I'm finding out that certain cultures in the world, you know, where people aren't exposed to all those ads and everything, and they live more isolated lives where they usually don't get like osteoporosis in cultures that never eat dairy products.
Right. And a lot of the osteoporosis that we get too is not just even about what we eat, it's about the sedentary lifestyle that we have, you know, because if you do strength training and exercise, daily exercise and stuff, all those things help strengthen your bones as well. And, you know, as Americans, we sit a lot, you know, we don't do a lot of.
Just a lot of what's considered work is sitting at a desk for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I find like for me, especially if I have a lot of days in a row where I'm not really exercising like I should, and I don't do heavy exercise, but I try to walk or hike every day. And when I'm not doing that, I find it's harder to, like my energy level goes down.
It does, it really does, yeah. Well, I hate to say it because I'm having so much fun talking with you about this stuff, but we've come to the end of another episode of Fresh Perspectives, and I'll see those. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having
being on
me.
Fresh Perspectives today, and I will see those of you in the viewing audience when I do the next episode.